Oh, Joash is here. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, Brian. Hi, Shelly.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Brian.
Hello.
Hello. Annabelle.
I'm driving.
Hi, friends. I see Blake and Lori. Hi, James, Doug.
Hi.
Amber, Joanne, Kenny. Welcome. I'm super excited. Yay, it's almost like we're all together. This is fantastic. Oh, Alan, I can see your face. Hi, Josh. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give people just a couple minutes to hop on and see. I can't even tell. There we go. We've got like 16 folks joining us right now, which is really exciting. And just in case you have friends that maybe were seeing clients right now or putting kids to bed, I know that I had a couple folks reach out and say that they had things going on. Now, I'm recording this, so I'll be able to upload it to my website so that if you didn't have a chance to see it now, or you know somebody who might like to see that, they can go on and catch up and figure out something later. I want to take some time at the end too for any kind of questions that you've got. So like a nice solid 10, 20 minute spend if you got any questions. All right. How's everybody doing? Maybe give me like a thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm really not sure. I'm kind of like this these days, right? It's really a thing in our field right now, right? There's a lot of moving parts and it seems to be changing every day. So I do know that as we keep finding out information in the coming days that things are going to be updated. I'm going to try and keep an updated list on my website and certainly put it out on Facebook for everyone. It's one of the things I've loved so much about our community is everybody's been so generous in sharing ththis this week. That feels really exciting too. Right. So I've got like 8:02. I was thinking maybe 8:05. We could get started. And if you can mute your thing, what do you call it? Mute yourself, your body, your voice. No, feel your body as much as you need to, but if you could mute your voice, that'd be really helpful too. All right. So the whole idea that I had about this, I'll just kind of chit chat before we get started, is a lot of us were just sharing and trying to gather as much information as we could as it started looking like we were going to be, a lot of us practicing in a very different way than a lot of us anticipated we were going to be practicing in. And there's a lot of confusion, but beyond that, I feel like anxiety started to get pretty high. I know that mine was certainly on the rise as everything was starting to happen. And we're holding ourselves as, you know, wanting to be able to take good care of our clients while also not necessarily being really sure about all of the regulations, what things are going to be happening to you. So I think it's helpful to have conversations like this where we can come together and try and pull as much information as we can, share resources, and help each other out in this time. So I know that that's been a really helpful part for me. It's really brought my anxiety down to be able to talk to friends, to talk to other people in the field, and to see what everybody's up to. Oh, hey, Joe. All right. I was thinking maybe another minute or so. So I was talking today to a friend, and we've got people here from every time zone in the US. It looks like somebody was talking about watching from Jordan and watching from the United Kingdom. And I think it's really neat that we have professionals all around the world who are really looking at wanting to give the best quality care that we can and really help each other out in that way. It was like a moment of light in a time that feels like a lot of unknown, could be really anxiety provoking. I think looking for moments like that can be really exciting. Okay, well, how about we get started? Does that sound good to everybody? All right. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, so I'm going to try and share my screen here. It is a bare bones kind of PowerPoint deal. You can take the girl out of the professorship, but you can't really take the professor out of the girl. So I am going to share a little bit of that, but I might be going back and forth between kind of talking because I don't know how to talk about this without using my hands and sharing information. Now, I've compiled all of this information into, let's see, maybe I am I allowed to mute people?
Yes, you can.
Oh, this is exciting. This is all brand new information. If you guys could mute, that would be really helpful. Let's see. Oh yeah, cool. Hey, thanks. Uh-oh, I just clicked off all y'all. There we go. Thanks, that's perfect. Okay, great. So I'll tell you a little bit about who I am if you don't know me and introduce myself and a little bit about what we're going to talk about. I'm looking at this being around an hour.
Indra, I've lost you, your picture.
Oh, you lost me?
Yeah, I can't see you anymore. When you asked everybody to mute, then I lost your.
Can anybody else see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
Did you accidentally stop the video or did you mute?
I can see you.
Yeah, that might be what happened. Did I stop somebody's video?
Yeah, you stopped mine.
Oh, sorry, love. Okay, so I think you should be able to go to the bottom of your screen to the left, right next to the microphone, and start your video again.
Yes, honey, I'm on it too.
Awesome. Welcome.
I'm not on it.
All right. Okay, everybody. All right, we good? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Perfect. And I'm going to minimize that. Okay, great. So, all right, so this is me, Teri Murphy. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in the state of Tennessee in the United States. And I'm a PhD in clinical counseling, education, and supervision, an LMFT supervisor. I'm certified in emotionally focused therapy and a supervisor in that modality. So a lot of the ways that I talk about practice.
They're having technical difficulties on their end.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Everybody's sitting.
Can you guys see me or hear me? Okay. Maybe, not really sure. Maybe log back out and join the meeting again. There should still be plenty of space for that. All right. All right, everybody's saying good, good, good there, good there, good there. So if you can't see, I would leave the meeting and then pop back in again. I think that's probably going to be the best option for you. Okay, so I'm going to start now and chat through a couple of these slides, and then I'm going to come back and we'll do some questions and some answers, okay? All right, so this, again, this is me, kind of was going through credentials, that sort of thing. Last thing, I'm the director of the Middle Tennessee division of the Tennessee Association for Marriage and Family Therapy too. So, oh, could you guys go ahead and mute your screens as well? Thank you. So what happened is, in light of COVID-19, the coronavirus, and social distancing, a lot of us were looking at needing to stay home, not go into our offices to work. So even though a lot of folks may not have ever considered practicing online or doing teletherapy, this is a place a lot of us find ourselves. And I think that that adds to a lot of the fear, the anxiety, the unknown, fears around competency, because it wasn't necessarily the medium through which a lot of people wanted to practice. A lot of comfort to be more around online work, on in-person work. And so we'll talk about all of these different things as we go. So again, this is me. And we're talking about moving our practices
Well,
from the office to online. And
there's no audio.
well, I can hear you.
All right, let me try it with my headphones.
I'm gonna mute him. Okay, there we go. And maybe he can hear again. Okay, great. Okay, so these major concerns are the ones that people kept talking to me about. So it's really these three different things. And so we're going to talk about these three different pieces as we go. So I don't know how to do therapy online. In-person therapy is the place that I really feel I'm not quite so sure how to feel competent in other areas. The second is the ethical guidelines for telemental health are confusing and scary. I know that certainly was a concern of mine, even though I'd had ethics and technology training and been through this before. The idea of fully moving my practice online brought up a lot of anxiety, a lot of things that I knew were going to have to be put into place. And then the third thing, I don't know which online tools to use, and I'm not sure I'm proficient enough at technology to really move my practice online. So we'll talk about all of these. So first, let's talk about competency. This is really good news, I think, for a lot of people. Oh, I don't know who that is. That's not muted. I'm looking through really quick. Here we go. All right, I think I got it. Perfect. So your competency to practice therapy doesn't come from your technological skills, even if you're practicing online. It still comes from your clinical competency. So your ability to have therapeutic skills, whatever interventions you would be using, the modality that you practiced with before, that's what we're really looking at for your competency. So if you've already met those competency standards, that's the core of what we're talking about, is going to be transferring over to being able to do this online. So online therapy is not a specific modality in and of itself. Online is just the medium, and that's according to the American Telemedicine Association. The definition of online therapy is really just the medium you're using. So in person would be one medium, online would be just a different kind of medium. So that doesn't shift the modality that you're going to use. It just means that the place that you're going to be practicing is going to be different, the way that you're going to be giving services to clients. Now, you still do need to be proficient in technology to be able to really be competent in your practice as well. So online therapy success, let's just talk a little bit about how we predict that. The biggest predictor of successful online therapy is really the same as in-person therapy, having a strong therapeutic alliance, but also you really need to be comfortable both with your modality and having your technical proficiency. So what's interesting is in some of the research that talked about the difference between in-person therapy and online therapy, there weren't huge differences between therapeutic outcomes, but the connection was still around therapist comfort, working with technology, and your therapeutic alliance. So you still want to have a strong connection with your client. You want to be able to also have some level of technical proficiency. It doesn't mean that you need to be perfect or have the skills of like an IT director or anything like that. You just need to be able to use the technology enough to make sure that you can keep your client secure and safe, that you know what your HIPAA requirements are, those sort of things. You can actually do the therapy the way that you need to be able to do it effectively and ethically online. So that's really good news. And even better is you get to take your therapeutic alliance that you already have if you've been working with clients in person and you're moving those same clients to online. You get to bring that alliance with you. You get to take that connection with you. That was really good news when I was thinking about it in that sort of context. So I did move my whole practice online this whole week. I've been completely online only and talked to my clients about it last week when this was starting to look like the direction that we were all going to be going in. And I have to say, the clients that I've been working with that have shifted online, we've talked explicitly about the difference, because it is different. I don't typically see clients online. That wasn't the majority of my practice before. I had done that from time to time. But I've been really pleasantly surprised at the ability to connect. The modality that I use is emotionally focused therapy, which is highly dependent on attunement. It very much is about the body and having clients turn to one another and have deep conversations. And I was concerned that there would be a lot lost in the online sort of interaction between us. But what I've been pleasantly surprised about is I've had really good sessions online with a couple of adjustments that I'm going to share with you that are very helpful to make sure that you're still able to pick up on certain things and that you're able to really tune in with your clients. So let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about the technological proficiency that you can have and where it comes in these different areas. The first is lighting. If you noticed the lighting when I first got on, I have lighting from the side and from the front instead of over my head shining down on me, which ends up making your face look shadowed or a little bit dark. Your clients might not be able to see you really well. If it comes from behind you, it gives, like if you have a window behind you or a bright light behind you, then you appear dark. And that also makes it really hard for your clients to see your face. And the same is true for them. I had a client that was sitting in front of a window even after we were looking and making sure everything was private. It was very hard for me to see their face. And so inviting them to maybe even just shift the camera angle where they still feel safe so that you can see them really well can be incredibly helpful. It's still great to be able to make eye contact and to be able to see facial expressions as they're looking at you. So the second then is your camera angle. If you can make your eyes as level to the camera as possible, that's going to give you the closest thing to direct eye contact. So I sat my laptop on a stack of really big books on top of my desk so that you could see my eyes. And when we do questions and answers, you'll be able to see me again and see kind of the angle that I'm at. You also want to be looking right into the camera, not like off to the side. And ask your clients to do the same thing. If they can get their camera to eye level, it's going to really be the best for both of you. It's going to look the most like both of you are making eye contact as much as possible. And then also have them really looking at the screen straight on instead of from the side so that you can do a good assessment how they're doing, any sort of affective state that they're in. You can really check in with them about that. The other thing too about eye contact and making sure that you're looking at them is like if you're looking down to take notes, they're not in the room with you, so you can just make those things really explicit. That's been very helpful when I've been working with clients. So I just say, hey, you might see me looking down. I'm just writing a couple things down on my clipboard, because just in case they get worried, you might be scrolling Facebook or something while you're on a call with them, which of course we wouldn't do, but it's really nice to affirm and make sure that your clients know what you're up to when they really can't tell except for what looks like you're just inside that screen. And then in the third one, please wear pants. It sounds like we're kind of joking here, and we can all have a laugh about how fun it sounds to stay home and work like in your jammies or without pants on, but you need to wear clothes, and that's honestly ethically very serious. Dress like you would as if you're going into your office. If you had an emergency and you had to hop up and go to the door, or just something urgent happened, or you spilled coffee on you and you hopped up, the last thing you want to do is hop up and not be appropriately attired. So for your safety and the safety of your client, for professionalism, make sure that you're wearing clothes. So pants, not necessarily. I'm wearing a skirt right now, so that's okay. But appropriate clothing really is what you want to make sure that you're wearing. So what happens if your technology freezes? If you've got a tech problem, things start to get glitchy, somebody's face freezes, we've all had that experience. First things first, just make sure you've got a backup plan and that you communicate that with your client before you start seeing them in the session. So as part of your beginning informed consent process and throughout, just remind them, hey, by the way, remember, if the computer freezes or we lose connection and we can't get back online, I'm going to call you on the phone. You can have some other kind of backup plans if you need to, if a phone call doesn't really work for you, but that is one of the suggestions that are really helpful to be able to have as a backup. In a huge emergency or crisis, you are allowed to text message, but that's really like only in a serious emergency, like if you lose all ability to be online and all ability to make phone calls. Another little helpful hint too is if you want to prevent any kind of slowdown, restart your computer every day, turn it off and back on again. Just like human beings, we need to kind of shut down at night and wake back up in the morning. Make sure to restart your computer every day. Close all other programs and tabs. It helps to really sit near a Wi-Fi router as close as you can to it, or you can plug right into the Wi-Fi using a cable if you have that option. My laptop doesn't have that option, so I sit as close to our Wi-Fi router as I can. Okay. So next point really is ethics can feel so scary, so overwhelming, and so confusing. And I do want to acknowledge that everything is changing so fast right now with coronavirus and the United States shifting the way that we're handling HIPAA. So the Office of Civil Rights, which is part of the Department of Health and Human Services, released a statement yesterday saying that they're not going to be enforcing HIPAA as stringently as they typically do. And they specifically said, and I'm going to quote here, that you may use non-public facing communication, and they specified FaceTime, Facebook Messenger video chat, Skype, and Google Hangouts, which you typically would not be able to use because they do not have a HIPAA compliant sort of ability. You still can use HIPAA compliant software as well, which we'll talk about when we talk about platforms, but this is really interesting and is a temporary sort of measure. So my belief will be that maybe it will go back after this sort of period of emergency is over, but for right now, this is a release. In the handout that I have that you can get on my website, terimurphy.com, there's a PDF that includes all of this information and includes the link to that original article, the original release. The second part of ethics, once you've made sure that you're in HIPAA compliance, is check your own state code. So every single state in the United States has its own unique code of ethics, which you've got to comply with, and it's based on your licensure. And right now, therapists and counselors and social workers don't have portability, meaning that you can only see clients in the same state where you're licensed when they're physically in the same state with you. And you need to keep checking on your state code. I know that there is an exception for certain psychologists. Certain states have signed up for portability among states. I'm not an expert on that by any means, so definitely check that. But if you are seeing a client that's in another state because they've reached out to you for services, it's in your best interest to actually refer anybody who's not in your same state to someone else that's in the same state as them. So I'm in Tennessee, and one of the questions that I'm going to ask when people call and ask for telemental health services is, where is your physical location? What state are you physically in? Because my license only covers clients who are also in the state of Tennessee physically. So even if I had a client from here in Tennessee and they went somewhere and then they got stuck there and couldn't get back, I couldn't see them right now unless these ethical codes start to really widen and that sort of thing. You could be liable if anything were to happen. So just make sure that you're checking your own state codes. As far as people outside of the United States, I'm not really certain what your codes would be, but it's a good idea just to check as far as your ethical codes. And then the third thing, always check in with your professional association guidelines. I'm under the LMFT, and so that's the guideline I read in 2017. The LMFT published guidelines for working with clients online. There's a similar provision in the ACA. The social work organization has had one since 2005, and I believe that they recently updated that. So just make sure that you're checking your professional association guidelines as well for best practices, and that can be incredibly helpful also. The LMFT actually also just recently released a guide for specifically during the coronavirus, includes like a video of how to help you with telemental health services that are ethical and competent. And other organizations most likely have similar things as well. So 2 important things to note when it comes to practicing online. It's like a little cheat sheet here to make sure that you do this every single session. First, make sure that you check your client identification when you're first starting to work with them. You can use something like a driver's license, some kind of way that you're verifying identity. And then the second thing, in every single session, you need to ask about your client's physical location so that if there's an emergency, they can get the help that they need. So I didn't realize this before I had training in telemental health, but if I am in the state of Tennessee and I'm in Middle Tennessee and I call 911, someone way out in Knoxville at the other end of the state from me, if they're calling 911, they're actually different numbers. They're different phone numbers. And so if I didn't know the physical location of that person, I just call 911, they might not be able to get to the person in a timely manner. So in order to take really good care of your clients for risk management for yourself, make sure you've got a good physical location for that specific session as well. Second thing, make sure you have an emergency contact that's near the client as close as possible. And that's just really good practice to make sure that you're keeping your client safe, that you're concerned about client welfare. Okay, so online platforms. I get a lot of questions specifically around what kind of platforms to use. Now, the good news is with the OCR that just got released, there's a ton more options, and it's a little less scary to figure out what's HIPAA compliant and what's not, because you can use some of these other platforms like FaceTime, Messenger video chat, and that sort of thing. Now, you cannot use Twitch, you cannot use TikTok, you can't use any public facing platforms, Snapchat, any of that sort of thing. You need to stick to things where it can still be maintaining your client's privacy. So a huge suggestion that I would have is if you already have a program that you're using, like records management or something, like I use Simple Practice already, even though I'm seeing clients in person. So I schedule my clients there, keep my case notes through Simple Practice. It sends text and email reminders. Well, Simple Practice has a telehealth option already embedded within that is HIPAA compliant. And Simple Practice just released information that they are giving 30 days for free of telehealth if you're already a customer with them. So that's a great option to be able to use that. Another one is if you have Zoom for Healthcare, you can sign a business associate agreement with them, and then you meet HIPAA requirements, which is what I've tended to use. If you want a platform for free, or you don't want to use the integration or whatever it is, you can use VC and Doxy.me. Both of those on their free version come with a business associate agreement that you sign just as part of enrollment. So you already are HIPAA compliant. So those are already HIPAA compliant platforms. Now, one thing I noticed is if you do take insurance, I don't, I'm private pay, but if you do take insurance, one of the things that is important to note is insurance companies tend to prefer synchronous care over asynchronous care. Synchronous just means we are live online at the same time. So video chat would be that, a phone call would be that, versus asynchronous care, which would be like text services or Voxer or email, any of those sort of things. So if you could just send a message and the other person could just sit on it and then reply as they have time, that's asynchronous. It's not at the same time. So I'm not saying that insurance companies wouldn't take asynchronous care, but so far from what I've been able to gather and the people that I've been able to talk to who use insurance, it seems like the reimbursement for clients and for providers tends to be a little bit better if you provide synchronous care. Okay. All right. So let me see how I can get back to you. All right. Bring your shared window to the front. Let me see how I can find y'all. All right, if anybody has a question, this would be a great time to start asking. Let's see.
Usually if you hit unshare, stop sharing content, you should be able to bring us back to the front.
Hey friends. Yay, we did it. That's so great. Awesome. Oh, just a reminder too, all of everything that I just talked to you about in a lot of detail is in the document that I made. So it's a PDF document that you can just download for free on my website, terimurphy.com. It's under mental health tools. Please share it with anybody that might find that to be helpful as well. Okay, so now it's time for questions and answers. We have like half an hour that we can talk about anything that you got questions about. I would love to help you to the best of my ability. And if I don't know, then maybe we can figure out as a group, or I can put you in touch with people who do know. So any kind of questions, you can type them or you can speak them, and I'll repeat them back for the group if we want to do it that way too. All right.
There's also a raise your hand function in the meeting settings. People can click raise their hand and it'll tell you who wants to ask questions.
Excellent.
Terry.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah, as you're talking about all this, I'm noticing more and more there are video counseling services, and that's like all they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't notice anything about, hey, they're limited to one state or another. And so I'm like, how are they doing that?
Oh yeah, like Talkspace and some of that sort of thing.
I mean, they actually have counselors, it seems like, but it's like, are they following any of these guidelines that you just talked about?
Right. You know, I'm not actually sure how Talkspace gets around that sort of issue or requirement. I haven't actually used it before.
I know.
Annabelle knows.
I know the answer to that. Sorry.
No.
So what they do is actually places like Talkspace, they get around it in one of two ways. Is either they tell you that it's not technically therapy, and so the thing that you're getting is not therapy, or they put the liability up to the individual therapist. So you've got to read the fine print when you sign up for things like Talkspace and find out how, you know, what their specific thing is. Usually it's one or the other. So you really got to CYA, because if they're putting the liability back on you and you don't know that's happening, you could open yourself up for profound liability later. The only folks that are exempt are if you work for the government, if you are VA.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Annabelle. Annabelle is certified in teletherapy as well, so she's a wonderful resource. Thank you so much. Yeah, there are certain ways that you can waive your rights, your HIPAA rights, just like when clients can sign non-HIPAA compliant email. So they say, yeah, I'd rather you just communicate with me with your Gmail address instead of using a HIPAA compliant system. But that is very different in that sort of way. Yeah, that's really helpful. I had a question over here. Do you need to have a document that clients need to sign for online and HIPAA compliance? Yes. So there's a sample informed consent form in the document that I created, and it's available for you, again, for free online. It's just a one-page document that your client signs and you sign, and you have to be very explicit about the benefits and risks. There are some higher security concerns when it comes to online therapy. Just, you know, my kids could run in the room. So like right now, what I would do if you were my client is I would pick my computer up and I would show you my room and show you that we are in a private space, that nobody else is here, nobody else is able to listen, nobody else is able to see the screen. Since my children are home right now as well, instead of sitting at my desk, I'll even show you. So my desk is just right here, but I'm sitting on the corner of it. So if my children run in the door because there's an emergency or they just decide to be children, they will not be able to see the screen. So most would still even be able to see the screen that people's faces were on. And if it really was an emergency, talk to the clients about that. Hey, this is a weird time, right? We are all home together. My children are here. It would not typically be the way that I would be practicing, but if I'm on duty, but I'm working with you, and then like an emergency happened and one of my kids got hurt and they came in, here is what we would do. And then I have a policy written and I talk about it as part of informed consent. This is what we would do. I would say to you, it's an emergency and I'm going to call you back as soon as possible. And I would shut my computer and go and deal with the emergency. And then you have to swing back around. You've got to have a contingency plan in place, not just if technology fritzes out, but what if something were to happen and they lose contact with you? It's just a different kind of an experience, the kinds of things that we need to think about to make sure that our clients are protected and safe, and that you're protected and safe as well. Great question. Another question is, in order to bill insurance, do I have to be in my office or can I work from my home? Yeah, that's a really good question. I saw this conversation in one of the Facebook groups that I was in. So again, I'm not an expert on this. I don't personally bill insurance, but one of the questions was, your office is typically where you need to be in order to be able to submit and bill insurance for payments. However, in a time like this, if you really are switching your office to home, the consensus that I saw in the online group was, as long as you make that your home office and you are only seeing clients in that specific space, then that begins to count as your home office. But I would definitely check with your insurance panels to be sure, just to make sure that you're covered as well. And again, I'm not an expert in that, but that's what I had read earlier. Great question.
Okay, Terry, that was my, and it was about we all should call our insurance before getting online.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Okay, I'm not doing this.
Is that
And
your
that,
conference tonight?
Nope, I can't
Is that
tell.
the-
I can already
Replay.
tell it's not going to be helpful.
oh,
All right, so I got another question here. I'm seeing a handful of clients still in person, the rest telehealth. Is that still legal at this point? So currently it's not illegal to be out of your home or to be practicing. I know that there is right now, there's a therapy practice in our local area, even though social distancing is really a thing that we've been asked to do. Schools are closed. A lot of restaurants now are closed. There are still certain modalities, in particular play therapy is one of the things that I've seen that people are having a really tough time in doing online work, which makes a lot of sense. Modalities where there's a lot of touch, a lot of like play, that sort of thing. It's a lot more difficult to see clients from a distance. Oh, I'm right to you. Thank you for raising your hand. That's so cool. So it's still just a guideline. Exactly. It's not a law yet. Now, if it became that you were showing symptoms, then it becomes really more of a thing where you're going to be quarantined. So there's a difference between self-isolation and quarantine. Self-isolation means we're taking ourselves out of the public to try and flatten the curve, to try and make sure that we're just acting as if we had symptoms. And so we want to stay away from people 10 feet away. We're making sure that we're washing our hands. We're making sure that we're trying to take care of people who might be ill. But quarantine means you're showing symptoms and you need to stay away from people. You need to stay away and you need to actually contact the CDC, get a test if you can. I know that there's all kinds of issues right now about being tested, but yeah, it's about liability at this time because yeah, if you're exposing someone, not a great thing, not something you should be doing. And then you need to be following CDC guidelines in between every client. So how are you disinfecting? How are you making sure that you are taking care of your clients, that welfare is being protected? Because if someone ends up with an exposure and they traced it back, like you would need to be able to make sure that you're in the clear. Is that making sense? All right, I saw a hand here too. Yes. Hello, I see someone with an iPhone here. I just lowered your hand, so it just says iPhone. You have a question?
Terry, are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to say, I think you did anyway. I can use, so two of the things we should always call our insurance company to make sure that we're covered for this.
Yeah.
And the doxy.me is one that's HIPAA.
That's
HIPAA.
That's right. Doxy.me,
Okay.
HIPAA compliant. Yeah, and should be free.
Okay.
One of my supervisees tried it out this week and she had some
Because I was trying to get on the zoom.health and the doxy. I got on doxy, so I feel I just got to start practicing. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Hey, great work. So another question, if you're seeing clients across state lines, but you're licensed in both states, the one you're in and the one you're delivering counseling in, is that okay? Yes. So for example, Kentucky and Tennessee have reciprocity. And so a lot of people who work with folks from like Fort Campbell, which is a military base right on the Tennessee-Kentucky line, get licensed in both states because some of the people reside in Kentucky. So close to that line, they get licensed in both states, which is really the only way that if you're seeing a client over in Kentucky that you can still see them. So you have to be licensed physically in the same state where your client physically is residing. And that is to protect the client. So even if your state could give a crap, if you're seeing clients in other states, that other state may care. So you need to make sure that you're properly licensed to give adequate care, even if it's online, especially if it's online. Great, great questions. All right. Yes, okay. I'm looking back, I'm scrolling up just to make sure that I've gotten everybody's questions that typed. I think I did. Thank you so much. These are wonderful questions. Okay, what else? We still have a little bit of time if anybody else has other questions. Could be about ethics, could be about platforms, could be about how to connect with clients online. I know that that was a question that came up pretty frequently too, how to build a therapeutic alliance, especially with new clients.
I have a quick question.
Hi, Blake.
Hello. So, not licensed, still in grad school. I don't think this is something that we talk about much in school. At least we haven't yet. Do you have to be licensed to be able to do telehealth?
Such a good question. Yes. So this is a gray area of mental health, and I'm going to sound like an ethics professor when I say it depends. Or like a college professor, right? That was my favorite thing. That's going to be on my tombstone one day. But wow, that went dark. Okay, so it depends. So the truth is it really depends on your state statutes. You've got to look within your state to see if supervisees or interns or whatever that term looks like are able to really do that, because you're operating as a student under your school's insurance. And so your school policy will determine if you're able to do that while you're still an intern or practicing student. And then when you're under supervision, it's going to depend on the state that you're in if they allow supervisees, people, pre-licensed professionals, really to be able to see clients by teletherapy. That's a great question.
Cool. Thank you.
So I know at Trevecca's Counseling Center, they are going to be able to provide telehealth services using interns. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's here in Tennessee. So I know that that was a thumbs up here, but I can't say that that you can definitely do that in other states. And I'm not sure what other countries would say to you. Yeah, so we have a practicum student who's saying that she is participating in telehealth via their company's Zoom as well. The free Zoom is not HIPAA compliant. You have to do Zoom for healthcare in particular and then sign a business associate agreement, and it's a paid service. Now, I have heard of different clinicians bartering, negotiating to get the rate down so that it's not so expensive if you're a solo practitioner. But that's not what I did, and I honestly can't remember. I paid for the year. Can't remember how much it was. Yes, this video will be available later. I'm recording this and we'll upload it to my website and then possibly to YouTube if my millennial son will teach me how to do it. So EMDR is a question that we had in telehealth. So I'm not certified in EMDR anymore. I let all of my EMDR stuff lapse. It's a difficult sort of modality, I imagine, to do online. Alice Strickland is in Tennessee and probably the most highly competent EMDR therapist that I know of. She would be a really great resource to reach out to. Or EMDRIA, E-M-D-R-I-A. That's the International Association for EMDR. And they will have different sort of policies around how to do EMDR. And my guess would be, I'm not on their email list anymore, my guess would be that they in particular would be able to give you some resources around that. Now, one of the interesting things that I was learning about online therapy is avatar therapy. I'm not going to go down a huge rabbit hole about that, but basically the idea is you both enter into a virtual world as avatars, and there are different things you can do, like heart rate monitors to check like breathing and meditation, relaxation modalities for your client and for yourself. My guess would be too that with EMDR you can do sound and you can do visual, that there probably are different ways that you could actually use technology to your benefit to be able to help out your clients a lot. I'm just not certain specifically what they would be. All right. No, I don't have a certification or a verification that proves you attended this training, but that would be awesome. That would be amazing. No, and it's just free because I love you. That's it. Because we're in this together. I did my training through the Zur Institute, ZUR Institute.org, and it was really clean, easy, neat, professional, 12 continuing ed credits, and covered ethics and platforms you could use, had a lot of videos and downloads and checklists that I found incredibly helpful as well. And I put the link in my download too. Was someone about to say something? Oh, I see a hand.
I think it was me again, and I was just trying to find out how to get your downloads.
Yes, terimurphy.com. And if you go to the mental health tools tab in my website, it's just right there. You just put your email address in and you can just download it for free. And it's about, I just updated it. It was 3 pages and now it's 9 because I don't know how to do anything partway.
Okay, that's wonderful. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Competency about online therapy, specifically emotionally focused couples therapy. Any marital therapists out there, couples therapists? That's definitely what I do, and it was the thing that really freaked me out about working online. Here's a really helpful thing. So I ask my couples in particular to make sure that I can see them both on the screen and that they're both looking at me. And part of EFT is encounters or enactments where you have people turn to each other and have conversations, which is crucial to every session that we have. It's a huge part in what we consider to be really this intervention that is, it's just essential. So making sure that the clients are not just looking at you and having conversations, but they're also able to look at their partner and have conversations, so the screen is big enough that you can see both of them. And I would also really want to have them in the same room rather than them both calling in separately, like the Brady Bunch, where everybody's just looking at each other. We want them in the same room together. So you can't be in the same room with them, but we would want them to be in the same room together. An exception would be if they got stuck in 2 different places, but then you would need to make sure they're still in the same state as you, both of them. Is that making sense to everybody too? So some of the things that feel difficult too are like, how do I attune? How do I make sure I'm able to pick up on emotion when what I've been using so much of is the felt sense in the room? That certainly is something that I rely a lot on as well. So one of the things that can be really helpful for you too is to just be really explicit. So I've said to all my clients, y'all, this is a little bit different than the way that I typically practice. You know what it feels like to sit in the room with me and for me to sit in the room with you. So I'm really going to need your help. I need you to tell me as you're getting to the edge of your window of tolerance, because I might not be able to feel it the way I usually would or be able to see it. So I really want you to help me out with that. Is that something that you feel like you could do? Yeah? Okay, great. And then I also want you to tell me what you're feeling in your body. I need you to help me out with some of these things. I need you to be maybe even more clear with me than you would be if we were in my therapy office. And that would just really help me out here. Is that something that you think you could do? All of my clients have said yes. All of my clients have been amazing and super helpful about helping me out with those sort of things. And you know what's interesting is I think all of us have learned a lot more than we even think. I think that our competency is really strong, that we can use a lot of the skills that we think we're going to lose when we move online that are actually still really available for us and are still really there for our clients. My clients, I ask them at the end of all of my sessions, like, can you check in with me? How was this for you? Did you feel connected? Did you feel like I was able to really be there with you this session? And is there anything that I could be doing that would really help you out? And to just be really open about those things, to really invite the clients to be able to participate and collaborate in this, because this is new for them too. It's going to be a little bit awkward for them as well. They may be nervous about the technology, but the more comfortable we start to get with it, the more that we really can accept this as a legitimate way to help our clients out, the better that's going to be communicated to them, and their comfort is going to start to feel better. Remember what it felt like when you went into your first session ever? I remember my professor, Don Harvey, Trevecca University, said, here's my advice to you, just join like crazy and don't leave a puddle in the chair. And that's a successful joining. And I would say, let's enter into online therapy initially in that kind of spirit. Like, I'm just going to join like crazy. I want to connect with you. I want to attune with you. I want to make sure that you feel safe and sound and that you feel seen and heard. And then I'm going to make sure I'm being competent. But my first job and the most important skill initially is just to make sure that the clients feel gotten and safe. That first session is key, that we're really holding them in this transition, you know, that we're really helping to make them feel as safe as possible. Their anxiety is going to be high with everything that's going on, and they're going to need to talk about it. And we get to be an audience for their fear and to be a safe holding space. And I did tell my clients that I see this as being temporary, that as long as this period is going on, that we're shifting, but that I do plan on going back to in-person sessions, and that I'm going to keep them informed as we go. So I'm going to touch base with them probably every session. That just is kind of me. I like to structure things and make sure people feel safe and just let them know, hey, this is where I am. So what I've told my clients, our schools are out through April 6th. So I said, at least until then, I'm picturing myself doing online tele-mental health, tele-couples therapy, tele-individual therapy, tele-family therapy. And then I'll let you know as we go, as things start to unfold, if there's going to be another transition. I'm going to make sure that you know ahead of time and that we keep talking about it. Because informed consent, as I know you all remember from grad school and your licensure process, it's not a one-time thing at the beginning, but it's something that is ongoing, especially in these temporary sort of places. And okay, that's a really good question. I do think it could be difficult for people to go back to in-person sessions afterwards, and that's okay. I mean, we probably should prepare our hearts and souls and selves that some clients might actually prefer this way of meeting with us. There's less commute time, some expenses are cut down. You know, there are a lot of different positives. And, you know, I was looking at research on this, and the outcomes are pretty similar between in-person and online therapy, which was surprising to me. I kind of expected it to be different. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like crying my face off and showing up sweating and taking showers and doing my hair. And it's like the same. But that's good, right? This is good news for us now, that we really can help our clients, that we don't have to lose sleep over the idea that maybe our clients are getting less effective care. Our care is going to be great. Let's see, any other questions? We've got like 8 minutes here. Oh yeah, financials. A lot of people are asking this. Are you going to charge less? No. Oh, this is the work that you've done. You paid $1 billion to go and get your grad degree and your licensure. You're not any less competent in your clinical skills just because you're moving online. You need to make a living, and you have done everything that you can to provide competent care for your clients. It actually is costing them less to see you this way, right? You're even maybe investing more in some of these online platforms, in your training, in your stress, maybe calling your therapist, you know, to help you through this time. You deserve to be paid your rate. You get to charge the same thing. Insurance is going to only pay you the same thing. They're not going to pay you any less or any more if you're on any kind of panel. So you deserve to be paid for your services. What other questions? That's funny. You guys are the best. This feels like community, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. We need each other in a time like this. We got to stick together, right? Okay. Any other thoughts, questions? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. How we doing? Check in with me here. Great. Wonderful. You guys are so helpful in asking the questions that you have too. I think that thanks, James, that makes everything so much better when we kind of can touch base and make sure that we're getting our needs met and that we're here for each other. If you have any questions after this, please send me an email, Teri@terimurphy.com. It's 1 R and an I. in both of those. I read all of the emails that people send me, and I'll compile them, because if there's certain themes that pop up, that's definitely how this came to be. I've been chatting with people since about last Wednesday and just realized I think there was a greater need here. So if you know anybody that this information would be helpful, please feel free to just pass it along. I'm going to download it tonight. Annabelle's going to teach me how to upload it to YouTube. So we'll have a free YouTube link. I'll have it free on my website. You won't even have to put your email in or anything. You can just share this link. I want us to have this information be accessible to anyone. And I know that it will be kind of time stamped here, March 18th, but as information continues to be updated, I'm going to keep posting it and sharing it. And I'd love to hear anything that any of you have. That would be wonderful. You guys are going to make me cry with your thank yous. It's so kind. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. All right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night with you and for you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.